What's up guys, welcome back. This is Anime Crossover. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was the King of Kryptonians Part 4. Now, let's begin. Naruto descends gently to the ground and approaches Hippolyta with deliberate steps, cradling the unconscious Diana in his arms. May I inquire about your identity? What actions did you take regarding Diana? Hippolyta inquired with a composed and dignified demeanor, her concern for her daughter evident, yet she maintained her stature as a queen throughout her reign. Naruto observes the woman with long black hair and blue eyes reminiscent of Diana, offering a subtle smile, appreciating Hippolyta's demeanor. I arrived in this territory to bring back this warrior. Naruto communicated in an impartial manner. Please remain still. Position Diana on the floor and assume a kneeling posture. Antiope issued the directive, yet Naruto chose to disregard it. Propose a kneeling position? That is highly unlikely. Naruto would not engage in such behavior. Naruto gazes at Antiope with a composed expression that reveals no emotions. Antiope swallows dryly and slightly withdraws. She experienced a similar sensation when an irate Zeus cast his gaze upon her. It was an overwhelming feeling. Naruto approaches the assembly of Amazons, accompanied by Fdeathanfiction and the Martian who resembles a female Kryptonian. This warrior was engaged in combat with Ares, the god of war, and was on the verge of being defeated by this deity. I rescued her, but Ares incapacitated her. Naruto disregards the spears directed at him and approaches Hippolyta with a composed demeanor. Upon examining her attire, I inferred that she was affiliated with the Amazons. Is she one of your associates? Indeed, she is my daughter, Hippolyta affirms in a composed manner. The Amazons were not given any orders to engage, therefore, they allowed Naruto to approach their queen unimpeded. A group of Amazons attempted to confront Naruto, yet upon meeting his gaze, they found themselves immobilized by fear. Halting before Hippolyta. I arrive with goodwill. Naruto addresses Hippolyta in a neutral tone, maintaining eye contact, unaware that their eyes have taken on a red hue. Given Naruto's height, Hippolyta, the queen of the Amazons, had to elevate her gaze slightly to meet his eyes. Thank you. Hippolyta sensed a degree of pressure from Naruto's gaze, as though he could see into her very essence. Hippolyta receives Diana from Naruto and examines her daughter with care. Noting that she was unharmed, she exhaled in relief. Diana is entrusted to an Amazon. Fdeathanfiction. Certainly, my lord. Fdeathanfiction retrieves Diana's weapons and shield, then approaches Naruto to present them. Your weapons are quite intriguing. Naruto offered a brief compliment while presenting Diana's weapons to Hippolyta. Hippolyta observes the delivery of the weapons. Thank you. She stated that to maintain confidentiality regarding Diana's weapons. Naruto's smile briefly expands, but it quickly reverts to a neutral expression. Hippolyta meticulously examines each of Diana's weapons, ultimately discovering that the lasso of truth is missing. She observes Naruto holding the lasso, offers a slight smile, and inquires. Did you genuinely rescue my daughter from Ares? What occurred with Ares? She inquired of him in an impartial manner. Indeed, I have secured this warrior, and regarding Ares, he is currently under my control. He has engaged in multiple offenses against my community, and I intend to seek retribution. Naruto spoke in a neutral tone that conveyed significant coldness. Hippolyta gazes with wide-open eyes. Initially, she was skeptical about his claim of defeating Ares. However, as he spoke those words while holding the lasso of truth, Naruto's assertions became more credible. Naruto presents the lasso to Hippolyta. I am departing now. Naruto pivots and ascends towards the ship. Hippolyta quickly inquires, as she had not anticipated his abrupt departure. Excuse me, may I ask your name? Naruto offers a slight smile. Please refer to me as Naruto. Naruto, the god of the Kryptonians. Shortly, Naruto ascends toward their vessel. Upon Naruto's entry into the ship, it ascended into the skies. As Naruto departed, Hippolyta remarked, Naruto, is it? Sister, is it appropriate to allow them to depart? Antiope inquired. Indeed, they appear to lack interest in our engagement. Their primary purpose seems to be the return of Diana, Hippolyta stated. She observed Naruto as he grasped the lasso of truth while articulating his thoughts. I prefer not to engage in conflict with them, as the outcome would likely be unfavorable. Antiope raises an eyebrow. Is he capable of confronting all of Olympus? I doubt he has the capability to confront all the gods by himself. It is clear that I have a strong aversion to Olympus. Have you forgotten the actions of those gods towards us? Hippolyta spoke in a neutral tone that conveyed significant animosity. In response to your inquiry, I believe he may not be able to contend with the entirety of Olympus. However, he certainly possesses the capability to eliminate us, and I am specifically referring to Naruto. I am uncertain about the capabilities of his subordinates. It is important to note that he is a deity from a different pantheon. He may also count gods among his allies. Indeed, it appears that the individual known as Feora may pose a significant threat. I perceive a sense of dominance when observing this woman, yet I question the strength of the other girl, Antiope stated. Antiope, with over 3,000 years of experience, possessed the discernment necessary to evaluate individuals. At this time, we do not have confirmation. He introduced himself as Naruto and identified as a foreign deity. We should review the records. There may be relevant information regarding this deity. If we lack information, we must consult the deities of Olympus. She delivered the final sentence with evident disdain. Understood. Hippolyta gazes at the sky once more. I had not previously encountered a deity named Naruto, yet the divine presence radiating from him served as evidence of his godlike status. The Moon of Earth. Within Naruto's private quarters. Please fulfill your responsibilities. Feora issued a command to the Martian with a detached demeanor. Affirmative. Magan Maor stated. She approaches Naruto and places her hand on his head. Naruto remains still, waiting patiently. Soon, Naruto regains the memories he chose to alter. Upon completing the task, Magan Maors remarked, I never anticipated that you had such a high level of trust in me. Certainly, I have complete confidence in you. I am fully prepared with multiple strategies should you attempt to deceive or manipulate me. I have Zero continuously overseeing my cognitive functions. When Magan Maors exerts control over an individual's mind, there are significant alterations in the brain's nervous system. If Zero detects any alteration in my brain, the Martian will be promptly restrained by the ship's comprehensive defense systems. She would endure significant hardship until I regained my composure. I needed to alter my recollections in order to mislead Hippolyta. I recognized that upon touching the lasso, it compelled me to speak the truth. However, I quickly acknowledged a shortcoming. If I possess a false memory such as, I saved Diana from Ares or, Ares is a criminal who acted against my race, that will constitute my truth. The lasso becomes ineffective if the memory of the individual maintaining the bond is altered. Have you added blocks to Diana's memory? Indeed, when she attempts to recall the events, she experiences a headache and is unable to remember. Satisfactory. I am pleased to report that everything proceeded according to my plan. I have the opportunity to conduct experiments, and I successfully created a favorable first impression with a nation known for its formidable warriors, such as Diana. I have also obtained information regarding the weapons utilized by Diana. Diana referred to me as a deity from a different pantheon. I am uncertain about the reason behind her choice of words, and I lack a clear understanding of the concept of a god. However, I believed I could leverage this situation to my benefit. By positioning myself as a deity, I could cultivate an image of having multiple divine allies. Hippolyta perceives me to be a far more formidable adversary than I actually am. In doing so, I established a neutral ground for discussions and future visits. I press several buttons on my armor, and a hologram of the Mischira's island materializes. That was one of the most significant advantages I gained. Upon entering my primary vessel in the skies of the Mischira, I successfully deployed multiple discrete surveillance devices. I will now gain comprehensive insight into the activities of these warriors. General Zod, the mission has been successfully completed. You are cleared to return. Certainly, my lord. Entering the skies of the Mischira with my mothership was a calculated risk. To mitigate potential issues, I opted for the empty vessel and placed Zod on standby in case of any unforeseen circumstances. If Hippolyta were to initiate an attack against me, I would have taken decisive action against the Mischira. If that were to occur, I would forfeit a potential ally and be compelled to engage in a conflict against the Olympian gods. I developed contingency plans in anticipation of this situation occurring. I would attribute the damage to the Amazons to Ares, based on the accounts I have read in the stories. It is highly satisfying when all elements align as intended. I communicate softly while maintaining a subtle smile. 4 days later. Please share with me. I say in a composed manner to Feora as I levitate in my room with my eyes closed. What insights did you gain from the most recent mission? I sense Feora's gaze upon me. I perceive her closing her eyes as she contemplates her response. The capabilities of a Kryptonian are remarkable, including their strength, endurance, and speed. Every aspect of my race embodies extraordinary qualities. When I close my eyes and concentrate, I am acutely aware of all the sounds and sensations aboard my vessel. I acquired this insight during my meditation in the sunlight. I have developed a routine of meditating during my free time. During my meditation in the sunlight, I gradually sense a development within me. I am uncertain about what that something may be, yet I sense an increase in my strength. Despite my considerable strength and resilience, a seemingly innocuous lasso was able to exert its influence over me. I am interested in understanding what this energy is that Zero could not identify. As I lack information regarding this type of energy, I opted to consult an individual who possesses greater expertise in the area. That is incorrect. I did not inquire of a man. I sought the insight of a deity. Ares, the god of war, embodies a powerful sense of determination. He declines to speak, enduring daily hardships while maintaining his silence. He is undoubtedly the embodiment of a formidable warrior. I have been unable to obtain any valuable information regarding the unidentified energy associated with Diana. This entire ordeal has proven to be unproductive. Not everything was without value. The existence of Ares presents a fascinating subject for exploration. Regardless of losing an arm, legs, organs, or even the head, everything is restored by the following day. Ares may experience a demise, but this is merely a temporary situation. On one occasion, I removed his heart, and the outcome was unexpected. He made a recovery the following day. He is indeed a fascinating individual. If the source of his immortality is what designates him as a god, I find myself contemplating the true nature of a god. Are deities immortal entities? Are deities entities of significant power? Are the guardians of the universe considered deities as well? Ultimately, they represent an immortal race that established the Green Lantern Corps. In a sense, they're kind of like gods too. I've been really curious about this lately, and it's been on my mind for the past few days. It's really frustrating because I know someone who could give me the answer, but they just won't talk. Through all the torture and threats, Ares stood firm and unshaken. He's really impressive. No matter if he's immortal or not, he can handle some pretty intense stuff, like having his blood heated up until his organs start to break down, chugging acid, pulling out nails, and even losing limbs, and so on. I've honestly lost track of how many times I put Ares through the ringer, and yet, he never once screamed or begged for mercy. He always stood his ground, kept quiet, and you can really see his amazing determination. Well, you know, my bond with Feora has definitely grown, and I've picked up some skills on how to torture someone the right way. I was with you the whole time during the mission. Your methods felt a bit distant and really well thought out. By getting to know Diana's personality, you could figure out what kind of person her creator must have been. With this info, you crafted a solid plan that takes advantage of the enemy's weak spots. I just can't manage something that detailed. Feora spoke in a calm and even manner. I wake up and give a small smile. You've got this. Don't sell yourself short. Less than text. If you can break down the plan I created step by step, then you should be able to follow the same plan I put together. Feora slightly opens her eyes and gives a nod, then returns to the data she was looking over. Hey, I need to clear something up with you. What's up? I had no idea what Diana's mom was like. What? I give a little smile. I really believe in the power of learning and how it can shape us. I keep explaining when I notice she's not quite getting it. For instance, if a child is brought up by two loving parents, and that child has no interaction with other kids, and no other influences in their life, I'm totally convinced that this child would turn out to be a kind person. I headed down. Okay, let's think about this situation in terms of the Amazon. The Amazons are part of a society led by women warriors who are strong, brave, and honorable. I'm sitting on the bed. They really don't seem to like men. They have a dislike for men because, historically, Hercules, the son of Zeus, betrayed the Amazons. If the books are accurate, and if humans didn't mess with them, I'm thinking I can take that data and create a personality for the Queen of the Amazons. Considering the personality of the Queen I came up with, I can kind of figure out how a princess from that race would be developed. She'd be a really noble and brave woman, always taking her responsibilities seriously. Wait, what? I couldn't help but chuckle when I caught a glimpse of Fora's puzzled expression. It's really not that hard to get. So, just picture this. I was brought to life by Zod, Jor-El, Zor-El, and Allura in Z. I grew up in a pretty cold society that really values logic and reason. With this data, you can kind of get a feel for what my personality is like. But it's not completely accurate. I get what you're saying, but it really doesn't make a difference. If I'm half right, that should be enough to create a flexible plan. One that I can tweak whenever I need to. Sure, having more information about someone is always helpful, but that's not always going to be the case. There are some enemies whose personalities I just can't figure out. Take Darkseid, for instance. I get that he's a tyrant, but I'm curious. What are his interests? What doesn't he like? What does he dislike? What does he really love? What are his goals in life? I'm not really familiar with any of that. Fedora begins to ponder. I chuckled a bit, then walked over and gently patted her head. Just give some thought to what I mentioned. Less than text. Today, I want to share a lesson. When you really understand your enemy, like you know the back of your hand, and you face them 100 times, you can come out on top every single time. Greater than sure, that's not everything, but for now, it's good enough. Fedora looks at me and says, a bit unsure, but that's not all, is it? Should I always try to see things from a wider angle? Maybe I should consider making my plans a bit more flexible in the future? Is it a good idea to always have a backup plan ready? So, when you were dealing with the Amazons, you had a few backup plans in mind, right? Fedora began to think out loud, a habit she picked up whenever she found herself struggling to understand something. Hey. I smile a little, feeling satisfied. Maybe. Well, maybe not. Who really knows? Just take a moment to think for yourself, and you'll find the answer in time. You know, every Kryptonian soaking up that yellow sunlight has the potential to be a genius. I'm here to help. What do you need assistance with today? Hey there, my awesome viewers who love DC Comics. Honestly, I really don't know much about DC Comics anymore. It's been ages since I read any, so I'm just relying on some wiki searches and a few fuzzy memories I have. This research might seem a bit questionable, but hey, don't be too hard on me. There are a few things I'm not quite sure about when it comes to DC, like, so, you know how Kryptonian technology is? Well, it seems like DC writers don't really dive deep into it. That's why I'm blending in some stuff from Mass Effect along with those Kryptonian crystals. Honestly, when it comes to the Amazonian island, I didn't really find anything that suggests it exists in another dimension. The only thing that felt like another dimension was Mount Olympus. So, it looks like this Amazonian island is hanging out somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle, and there's a shield keeping it safe. Oh, and I found out from the wiki I looked into that the truth loop really just reflects the user's own truth. It's interesting how they say truth is subjective, right? Well, that's what I found on wiki, anyway. What I'm saying is, just think of this novel like it's in an alternative universe. Hey, go easy on me. I haven't kept up with DC in ages. Honestly, I know way more about Marvel since I watch a ton of their movies. Honestly, the DC films just didn't hit the mark. The Batman trilogy and the Joker's last film are just amazing. I've said quite a bit, but really, just think of this fanfic as an alternate universe. I'm not sticking to just 100% of DC stories. I'm mixing in different elements like Mass Effect and the original Greek mythology. The Mysteria. In a fancy palace, a stunning woman with long black hair was sleeping soundly, soaking up the warm sunlight. The woman slowly opened her eyes and glanced around, looking a bit stunned. She plops down on the bed and glances around, almost like she's trying to jog her memory about where she is. Gradually, the blanket drapes off the woman, revealing her curves just as she was born into the world. The woman was glancing around, a bit taken aback, without a care for her own nudity. "Hey, it's Diana," a voice calls out to the woman. Diana turns to the person who called her, recognizing that familiar voice. "Hey, Mom. Where am I?" She talked in a bit of a sleepy voice. Hippolyta gives a warm smile. "Hey there, you're at home, sweetie." "Oh." Diana suddenly opens her eyes wide. "What's going on with Ares? Wait, was he actually defeated?" She called out in worry as she rose from the bed. "Hey, why don't you throw on some clothes and join me?" Hippolyta gave her instructions as he stepped out of Diana's room. "Mom." Diana attempted to speak up, but Hippolyta simply shot her a frosty glance. "Hey, this is an order. Are you really not going to listen to your queen?" Diana swallows hard. She had never seen her mother give her that look before, and slowly, she nods. "I'm sorry, but it seems like you didn't provide any text for me to rewrite. Could you please share what you'd like me to work on?" Diana puts on her Amazon clothes and then heads off to join Hippolyta. "Hey, why don't you take a seat?" Diana got an order from Hippolyta. Right now, they were sitting at a table piled high with a ton of food. Diana nods and takes a seat at the table, but she hasn't picked up any food yet. "Hey, do you remember what went down?" Hippolyta inquired. Diana begins to think, but as she tries to recall what happened, a headache starts to creep in. When Hippolyta saw the painful look on Diana's face, she knew she had found the answer she needed. "Can you share all the events that come to mind?" Diana nods and says, "I was planning to take on Ares alongside Steve and his friends." She began to share the story with a heavy heart, missing her dear friend who had passed away. "The fight was really tough. Hey, I just wanted to share that my friend Steve passed away. When I saw the vision of my friend dying, I began to experience a power like nothing I had ever felt before. I was planning to use that power to take down Ares, but..." Diana looks like she's in pain and places her hand on her head. "I just can't seem to remember." Hippolyta gives a nod, showing that she gets what went down. Diana woke up the powers she got from the gods. Diana was all set to take down Ares with her power, but the god of war had other plans and knocked her out instead. This is when Naruto stepped in to help Diana, she thinks. "Hey Mom, what's going on?" Hippolyta glances at her daughter. "Looks like you lost to Ares. I'm not really sure what went down after that, but it seems like a god from a different pantheon jumped in during the fight and ended up saving you. This god also managed to capture Ares." Diana's eyes go wide. Aren't the gods from other pantheons supposed to be dead? That's not right, only the Nordic gods have been wiped out. Some gods from different pantheons are still around. Diana begins to ponder, and before long, a memory of a man in black armor with long red hair comes to her mind. I can still picture this guy in black armor with long red hair. She had a serious look on her face as she spoke. "Yeah, that guy who brought you back home," Hippolyta chimed in. "What's his name?" Diana asked with a hint of curiosity. "Naruto." "Naruto, the god of the Kryptonians." "Kryptonians?" she said, looking a bit confused. After a moment of thought, she said something. "I've never heard of that deity before." "I feel the same way." Hippolyta said something. "I feel like he's the god of his race, which totally makes sense for why he has such a strong sense of divinity. That guy was as powerful as Zeus in his heyday," she was thinking out loud. "Hold on. So, are you saying he's a god king? Is he the head honcho of his pantheon?" Diana talked about being shocked. "I'm not really sure, we didn't keep in touch much. He just came to bring you back, he didn't ask for anything more. He also brought over all your equipment," she mentioned. Before long, she recalled the futuristic spaceship that had shown up in the sky over the Mistira. "I might be reading too much into it, but his divinity felt really vast and heavy. I really think he's as strong as Zeus when he was at his peak. I'm not really sure. I haven't really had much interaction with gods like Zeus, and honestly, I'm not a fan of him." Hippolyta was straightforward in what she said. Diana began to ponder. "The tech he has is way more advanced than anything I've ever seen before." The two women started to ponder about the mysterious god who had suddenly shown up. "Naruto," Diana said, a hint of curiosity in her voice. "Do you think he'll come to see us again?" Diana asked with a hint of curiosity. I'm not sure, but I really hope he doesn't show up. Hey, you know the rules we have, right? Hippolyta spoke in a calm and even manner. So, men aren't allowed, huh? Diana sounded really upset. So, does this rule actually apply to a god? She thought to herself, you know, gods can be pretty selfish sometimes. Hippolyta didn't say anything, she was thinking the same thing. Unaware that someone was eavesdropping, they kept on discussing the enigmatic god. I'm sorry, but it looks like you didn't provide any text for me to work with. Could you please share what you'd like me to rewrite? Hey, she got up sooner than we thought, I mentioned, feeling a bit impressed. Diana definitely has a strong will. She really could have used a solid week of sleep, but somehow, she was up again in less than 4 days. Hey there, we've got a bit of a situation. I glance over at my subordinate and say, go ahead. My subordinate presses a couple of buttons on their armor. We haven't managed to scan all of the Mysteria yet. As I glance at the main screen, a map of the Mysteria pops up. But then it hits me. There's a spot inside that palace that our scanners just can't reach. This country is definitely intriguing. They might not have advanced technology, but they do have something that can interfere with ours, I say. So, did our prisoner say anything? I'm asking Feora. He just kept quiet. Even with all the torture, he still didn't spill any details about Olympus or that energy we couldn't figure out. Feora spoke with a hint of annoyance, feeling like her pride was being challenged by Ares' resistance. So, after hearing what Feora mentioned, it got me thinking. Divinity. Hippolyta mentioned this word while chatting with Diana. The writings of humans suggest that divinity is the energy of the gods, and with that divine energy, they can work all sorts of miracles. I'm not really sure what divinity is all about. Is it something like the energy from the sun? What's the best way to achieve divinity? What kind of miracles do books mention? Tisk. Why can't people just write with a bit more detail? Gods tend to write their books in a pretty vague way, don't they? They mention that I have a lot of divinity, but how can I actually get that divinity? I pause my thoughts and turn to Feora. Take your time, Feora. Look at this as a chance to learn. If he's not opening up, maybe it's time to dive deeper into your studies, don't you think? It's a great opportunity for you to enhance your skills in torture. I'm just stating it plainly. I'm a bit frustrated that I didn't get the info I was looking for, but that doesn't mean this situation is all bad. I just need to hang on a bit longer. You know, that's totally true. Thanks a lot, my lord. I just smile a little and keep quiet. Hey Magan Maors, were you able to break through Ares' mental defenses? Magan Maors glances my way and offers a sheepish smile. I can't do it just yet. I've always found it easy to read the memories of everyone around me. It's the first time I've come across someone who has such a solid mental defense. I'm not really great at breaking down mental defenses. I smile a bit and say, it's all good, just take your time. No need to rush. Why not take some advice from Feora? She might have something really useful to share with you. Well, you know, she's got quite a bit of experience when it comes to torture. I really can't rush Magan Maors, she's just a bit clumsy, you know? If I push her too hard, she might end up making some big mistakes. So, when I chatted with Magan Maors about telepathy, it really hit me that it's a super delicate skill. If someone has really strong mental defenses, they can actually hurt Magan Maors. Absolutely, my lord. She lets out a sigh of relief. Hey Zod, is everything okay with New Krypton? No problem at all, my lord. Everything's going just as we expected, he mentioned. Sounds good. Just send me a detailed report later, okay? Absolutely, my lord. I'm checking out the image of Diana and Hippolyta once more. Everything is unfolding just as I envisioned it. All I have to do now is just wait for the results. As I wait for the results, I've got to concentrate on creating the new armor and gadgets that will be useful down the line. I need to go check on the little ones too. A stunning woman with long blonde hair was hurrying through a grand, luxurious palace. Even with the worry and anxiety on her face, and her clothes all over the place, she still managed to look absolutely stunning. With one hand, she swings open a big gate and steps into what looks like a throne room. Zeus. The woman's scream bounced off the walls of the throne room. Hey, Aphrodite. Why are you rushing? Aphrodite turns to see who's calling. Before long, she runs into a stunning woman who has long blonde hair just like hers. She was rocking a white outfit that really showed off her curves, and she had a queen's crown perched on her head. What really caught my attention about this woman wasn't just her stunning looks or the crown she wore. It was her lifeless eyes that truly stood out. Her eyes were cold, showing a complete indifference to everything around her, almost like she just didn't care at all. "Hera," Aphrodite said. "Could you call me a mother?" Hera was curious and asked. "You know, it's not a big deal," she kept going in a laid-back way. Hera strolls over to the two thrones designed for a king and a queen. As she steps up to the throne, her lifeless gaze settles on the queen's seat. Hera's eyes flicker with a mix of emotions that are hard to catch, but just as quickly, they fade away, leaving her with that familiar indifferent gaze. She's sitting on the throne, glancing over at her daughter. "Hey, what do you need?" Aphrodite feels a chill in Hera's tone and swallows slightly. Aphrodite totally knows what's up. Honestly, any Olympian god who takes a moment to think about it will get where Hera is coming from. The queen goddess of Olympus was really fed up with Zeus' antics. So, the last thing Zeus did that really pushed Hera over the edge was having a daughter with Hippolyta. After that, she just completely shut down emotionally. She's become colder and more unpredictable. With her emotions hidden away, no one has a clue about what she's up to. Hera was the one who raised the Amazons. She was basically their mother. She really got along well with Hippolyta, but then Zeus came in and messed everything up. After dealing with her husband's betrayals, Hera transformed completely. She's loyal to Zeus, but it's not really by choice. It's like there's a divine collar around her neck that she just can't take off. So, Ares. He got kidnapped by a god from a different pantheon. So, Hera spoke in a chilly manner. "What, isn't he your kid? Are you not going to help him?" Hera offers a chilly smile. "I just don't get why I should help him." Hera reaches out and grabs a gold glass with a simple hand gesture. Then, out of nowhere, Hera has a bottle of wine in her other hand. She pours herself a glass and starts sipping it leisurely. "Huh? No way!" Aphrodite exclaimed, clearly in disbelief. Back in the day, that would totally be enough for Hera to go to war with the whole pantheon. Hera gazes at her daughter. "Ares is all grown up now, so I'm not going to clean up after him when he makes a mess. Do you think that dealing with the gods from a different pantheon might help him mature a bit?" She chuckled softly. Aphrodite blinked in surprise as she opened her eyes. She had never seen Hera speak so rudely before. She was always so elegant, even when she was upset. Aphrodite is starting to feel a bit annoyed. "Hera." She steps forward toward Hera. Hera just raises an eyebrow and glances over at Aphrodite. "If you come any closer, I'm going to have to call you a traitor. I'll take care of you myself." "What are you curious about?" Aphrodite paused in her tracks and stared at Hera, clearly taken aback. "Oh, it's a shame you didn't keep going. I could have used that as a reason to take away your divinity and get rid of you for good." Hera chatted casually. It felt like she was chatting with someone else's daughter instead. Aphrodite felt a chill run down her spine. She had never encountered Hera in this way before. She's not sure how to handle it when she comes across such an indifferent Hera. "Would you ever think about harming your own daughter?" she asked, feeling a bit discredited. Hera glanced at Aphrodite, her expression suggesting she thought she was being a bit ridiculous. "So? What? I mean, so what if you're my daughter?" Hera gave a chilly smile. "So, you think you're pretty important, huh? Hey, just a reminder that while you might be seen as the goddess of beauty and vanity is a part of you, don't forget. You're so much more than that." Aphrodite felt like she had been stabbed in the heart. She never expected to hear those words from her mom. Aphrodite takes a deep breath and shifts the conversation. "Hey, where's Zeus?" Hera takes another sip of her wine. "Who knows? He's likely out there with someone else, maybe even an animal. Could it be that he's hanging out with a guy? I wouldn't be surprised. I recall it happening before." She talked with a hint of disgust. Aphrodite bites her lip, feeling a wave of frustration wash over her. "Are you thinking about saving Ares?" she asked once more. "Can you not hear me? Do I really have to explain this to you? Ares, I really don't care about that." Aphrodite's fists are clenched tight with anger, but she holds back from taking any action. She totally gets that Hera wasn't joking when she said she was going to kill her. I have no idea which god decided to kidnap Ares, but I really want to meet that guy. Even if we're not as strong as we used to be, we still hold the title of gods of Olympus. Hera talked about curiosity. Hera shuts her eyes and taps into her cosmic awareness. She spots a guy with long red hair in black armor, calmly giving orders with a neutral expression. Out of nowhere, the man turns to Hera, his expression turning serious. "Hey, who are you?" he asked, his eyes glowing red, clearly not a fan of this situation. Before long, Hera decides to stop using her powers. Hera's body shook a little when she locked eyes with the man. "Haha, that's hilarious." She burst into laughter. Her laugh was a mix of fun, nostalgia, a touch of madness, and a sprinkle of hope. Aphrodite was a bit puzzled by Hera's sudden laughter, but she figured it was best to keep quiet about it. She really just wants to get out of here. Aphrodite begins to stroll toward the exit. Hera pauses her laughter and turns to look at Aphrodite. "Hey girl, I really think you should let go of Ares." Aphrodite halts her steps and turns to Hera with a serious expression. "Why's that?" Hera's got a big smile on her face. "So, he got caught by Naruto, the king god of Krypton. He's really messed up, and honestly, I feel a bit sorry for my son now, ha 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 ha." Aphrodite's body trembles with fear and a little excitement. But how hadn't he been killed? She completely forgot about Ares. Gods do not die, as long as there is faith, of course. Hera spoke the obvious. "That's not what I'm talking about. You know that there is another method of making a god die. Ra died in the past. How can he be alive?" Hera doesn't answer, she just shows a cold smile. "Don't even think about it, bitch." Huh? Aphrodite did not understand the sudden insult. "In the past, you managed to seduce Ra, but I realize that the Ra current is very different from the past." Hera has a cold smile. "He is much more serious, he is much more focused than the old Ra. He is much more worthy of being called king than this disappointment that has the name of Zeus." Aphrodite still didn't understand what Hera was saying. Hera displays a happy smile that she rarely did. "I wonder if it will destroy Olympus. Oh, that would be an interesting thing to see." Aphrodite sounds cold. She looks at Hera like she's looking at a madman. "You have gone crazy, Hera." Hera's smile breaks for a few seconds, but soon her smile recovers. Aphrodite takes a deep breath and continues. "Even if it's Naruto, he won't be able to destroy Olympus alone," she said. She turns and walks towards the exit. Seeing Aphrodite leaving, Hera stops smiling and returns her indifferent expression. She shows a small cold smile. "He is not alone," she whispers coldly, then Hera disappears. Currently, Naruto was in the vacuum of space somewhat close to the yellow sun. He was in a lotus position while meditating. "I don't like it. I don't like it when something is not under my control. Just thinking about the fact that someone can use some strange power to observe my actions irritates me. This is a weakness of mine. I cannot be arrogant to think that everything is under my control. Krypton compared to Earth knew a lot about the universe, but all Krypton's knowledge is just the tip of everything that exists in the universe. The universe is constantly expanding, the universe is infinite. It is practically impossible to know everything that happens in the universe. Instead of being angry about a situation that I cannot control, I must plan, I must prepare. I open my eyes, and look at new Krypton that is being born in this new solar system. I have work to do. I have a nation to create, a race that I must protect from extinction. I also have enemies that are much more powerful than me. Currently, I don't know how to strengthen myself, but I have a feeling. Wrong, is it more correct to say that it is something I know? I do not know how to explain. But, I look at the yellow sun. This is the key. The more I meditate on the yellow sun, the more I feel a thing growing inside of me. I don't know what that thing is, but I know it will be useful in the future. This is a strange feeling. It is as if you have a feeling that you should turn left, and if you do not turn left, many bad things can happen. Everything is related to the sun. This is what I feel. 4 days later. In those 4 days that passed, I just meditated in the vacuum of space. I just went back to the ship a few times. I did it to check the progression in Fora's studies. Currently, I don't have much to do. I already planted the seeds of the future Krypton civilization. I'm just waiting for this seed to bear fruit. My subordinates were always monitoring this solar system. If I didn't get any calls, it was because nothing important happened. Walking to the torture room, I look at Feora. Did he say anything? He still hasn't said anything. Feora was quite irritated these days. It seems that Ares' persistence severely damaged her pride as a torturer. Give me some time alone with this god, I order. Yes, my lord. Nan and Feora spoke. I enter the torture room and the first thing I see is a completely clean room and a man chained to a cell that contains several reinforced shields. An interesting skill about Ares is that when he dies, the blood he sheds seeps back in his body as if nothing had happened. It was like a skill that goes back in time. I grab a chair and sit in front of Ares' cell. Let's start our game. Do you know that I admire you a little? I notice Ares raising an eyebrow. Will you torture me today? He asked. But I ignore him. I really admire you a little. You were able to endure torture that would make any being ask for mercy. Humph, don't underestimate me. I'm the god of war. I've always been prepared for torture. I smile a little. Yes, I understand. I nod my head. Well, I have to thank you. Huh? Didn't I tell you? Because of your persistence, my wife became more determined to learn about torture. I even learned a few things as well. I nod in satisfaction. To be honest, I don't care much for the information from Olympus. Hua. Why are you making that stupid face? You forgot that I can get any knowledge of human books. After all, what is written in those books is 100% true, right? Well, yes. I mean, some parts humans have changed, but the tales are true. I give a small smile. See, I don't particularly need you here. I just left you in jail for my wife to gain a desire to learn more. After all, you are immortal, right? You will never die. The gods are certainly extraordinary beings. Ares gives a proud smile. Of course, we are different from you. We are immortal. This is a very enviable trait, right? You can live forever and enjoy all the pleasures. Yes, I already tasted all kinds of women and wine that existed. I slept with countless goddesses too. He speaks contentedly while nodding his head. Yes, yes. I heard that Aphrodite was your wife, right? She is the most beautiful goddess of Olympus. You are a lucky man. How did you feel when you betrayed your brother Hephaestus? Betrayal? There was no betrayal. My brother was not worthy of Aphrodite. She would naturally be mine. Olympus is lost. If the main gods of this pantheon are composed of selfish children like Ares, eventually they will destroy themselves because of their selfishness. I am jealous of you. You cannot die. You have had all the pleasures that a man can have, and you will live until the end of time. Ha 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 ha. Not everything is enviable. If these little humans are extinguished, I will die. After all, I am alive only because of the faith of humans. He spoke in a wistful tone. Oh, do gods die if they don't receive faith? Is that some kind of energy? I know that faith is like a worship that mortals have with the gods, but does that worship produce any kind of energy? I need to keep him distracted. Yes, that is a bad thing. In a way, I am happy. After all, I am going to live for at least 300 years, but that is enough for me. 300 years, huh? That is not enough. True, I nod my head. I was always curious, do the Olympian gods live in heaven? Ha ha ha, you are a fool. Ares laughs loudly as if having fun. Those who live in heaven are the angels. They are a more powerful race than the gods. At least their archangels are much stronger than the gods. He speaks with an angry frown. He doesn't seem to like that fact. Olympians live in Greece. Of course, isn't it? The problem is that I can't locate where in Greece you live. After all, this seems to be a protected and hidden place from the world. Angels, huh? I just wanted to confirm the existence of these beings, but it seems that they are real. Ares is a well of knowledge. If I could access his mind, I wouldn't have to have this conversation, tisk. Well, it was a good conversation with a wise god. In the future, I plan to come back here. Huh? I get up from the chair and walk towards the exit. Arriving at the exit, I say in a cold tone. Increase the level of torture. I don't care if you damage the ship a little. Create new ways to kill beings as painfully as possible. Make sure you make him suffer. Yes, my lord. I start walking. I need to meditate. Naruto is angry. It seems that this god has bothered him. Feora spoke in a cold voice that made Nan's spine tremble in fear. How did you notice? He looked normal to me. Nan tried to change the subject when he realized that Feora was beginning to murmur her plans to torture Ares. I know him well. Feora spoke. Nan soon remembered that this woman is the one who sleeps in the same bed as Naruto. You're right. Feora narrows her eyes at Nan for a moment, but has decided to ignore it for now. 0. How is the process of fusing the sun? I asked my artificial intelligence. I am currently in my room. I was looking at a hologram in front of me. My lord, the merger took a while, but it was all according to your calculations. The star is currently stable. I nod. It took me a few days, but I managed to successfully make a mini-sun. The process was simple and at the same time complex. To make a sun, you must research the composition of the sun. The sun is composed of, mostly hydrogen and helium with some traces of other elements including iron, nickel, oxygen, silicon, sulfur, magnesium, neon, calcium and chromium. If I have all these elements in a container strong enough to withstand the heat of a star, in theory, it is possible to make a sun artificially. But there is a problem. As with everything in the universe, the sun needs a balance to keep from exploding. At first, it was relatively easy to make the sun, but the problem came at a time when the elements were not stabilized. I almost created a mini black hole. I need to stop these dangerous experiments in an uncontrolled environment. This is going to be the last time. Initially, I planned to do this experiment in a controlled environment, but I'll be honest, I was in a hurry. The moment I felt someone spying on me, the alertness level in my head exploded. Because of that, I rushed this dangerous experiment. If I wasn't careful enough, I could create a singularity that would swallow everything. It could create a mini black hole that would swallow everything in this solar system. However, the experiment yielded successful results. I successfully created an artificial sun. Currently, there is an issue to address. How can I effectively encase this sun in armor? Is the search for metals that can withstand the heat of the sun ready? Indeed, my lord. The research findings indicate that only 2 materials can endure the sun's heat. Please demonstrate. Shortly, I observed 2 holograms displaying Diana's bracelet alongside a Kryptonian metal. Arthur's note. The original name of this metal is supermonium, but I am unable to find an appropriate context for incorporating that name into a discussion about the metal. Is that woman's bracelet really that tough? I ask, a hint of surprise in my voice. Ultimately, not every metal possesses the capability to endure the intense heat of the sun. I observe Kryptonian metal. It is indeed a rare material. I have sufficient resources to create armor. I experience boredom. However, there is little I can do to alleviate it, as this metal is quite rare even on Krypton. Historically, during the era when Krypton functioned as a militaristic empire, this metal was utilized to construct more durable structures such as ships and government buildings. A number of these metals were either lost during the war or stolen, resulting in their scarcity. In the future, I will need to explore alternative methods for integrating an artificial sun into armor. I express with a hint of boredom. At this time, I will focus on creating armor for myself. However, I recognize the need to address this issue in the future. I would like to request a minimum of 3 additional pieces of armor. I examine the metal and begin to contemplate. The melting point of this Kryptonian metal is 79,654,134 degrees Fahrenheit. A.T. 44,252,279 degrees Celsius. This situation is highly challenging, as the temperature in question is nearly 3 times that of the sun's core. I currently lack the necessary equipment to create a tool capable of generating such extreme heat. 0. I require all the data regarding this Kryptonian metal. It is essential for me to understand how my ancestors were able to manipulate this material. Certainly, my lord. A few minutes later. 0. Could you please provide an update on the timeline? I have thoroughly examined all available Kryptonian data, but unfortunately, I was unable to locate any information regarding the melting process for this metal. It appears to be lost. I exhale softly while resting my hand on my forehead. Currently, I require the development of armor that can continuously absorb solar radiation. My intention is to remain within this solar system for an extended period, and this type of armor is particularly advantageous in a solar system with a yellow sun. Yes, my lord. Do you have any color preferences? Interesting. Colors, indeed. I observe my hair and my present armor. Please paint my armor black with subtle red accents. Arthur's note. Essentially the armor of the cape. Yes, my lord. I exit my room and begin to walk towards a destination. As I navigate the corridors of the ship, I overhear two voices. By Naruto, you are approaching this incorrectly. It would be more effective to proceed in that manner, followed by the next step. A woman's voice stated. Excuse me. I just completed that task. I hear Magan Maorz's voice. Please repeat that. Indeed. I am interested in their activities, so I proceed to the room where I heard the voice and soon observed Magan Maorz attempting to cook. I observed the Kryptonian assisting her. She possesses long blonde hair and blue eyes, characteristic of all Kryptonians. She possesses a composed and serene demeanor, bearing a strong resemblance to Kara Zor-El. Initially, I entertained the notion that my teacher had fathered a child out of wedlock. However, I quickly recognized the implausibility of such an idea, as it did not align with his character. I proceed towards the room where the infants are, mindful not to interrupt their activities. Upon entering the room, I observed multiple infants situated within a capsule filled with green liquids. They have significantly increased in size since my last visit. I am momentarily taken aback by the fact that these infants possess red hair. Perhaps my blood had an impact on something? 0. Have there been any observable changes in the infants? No changes detected, my lord. Satisfactory. Continue to observe the infants. I approach the Kal-El capsule. In comparison to the other infants, he exhibited a slightly larger size. For a brief moment, I observed Kal-El opening his eyes, but he quickly closes them again and returns to slumber. Everything appears to be normal here as well. I will train with Magan Maorz. She requires improvement in her skills, but that will not take place today. I observed that she was approaching the Kryptonian woman. This development is likely to yield positive outcomes in the future. Ultimately, she will perceive Krypton as her place of belonging. I plan to meditate in a sunlit area. My name is Drew Zod, and I hold the position of a high-ranking general on the planet Krypton. However, the situation has not always been as it is now. I was the offspring of a Kryptonian scientist and military personnel. Kryptonian scientists operate in a profession that carries inherent risks. While the level of danger is considerably lower than that faced by soldiers, it is important to acknowledge that risks are still present. One day, my family and I embarked on a scientific expedition to the Krypton desert. Everything was proceeding smoothly, and the work was advancing effectively. We were unaware that we would face an attack from wild animals. We found ourselves in a dire situation. The soldier assigned to guard us had also been killed. Following the tragic loss of my mother, my father and I fled, leaving her body behind for the animals. Once more, my father and I found ourselves surrounded by the creatures. He glanced at the beast and then turned his gaze to me. You must run, Zod. I acknowledge and comprehend the instructions being provided to me. On that day, I took my father's life and abandoned his remains for the animals, which allowed me to make my escape. I successfully navigated the challenges of living alone in that desert for over a year. I strategically evaded danger and engaged in combat when required, ultimately surviving until I was discovered by the members of House L, who would later become my esteemed friends. As an adult, I achieved my aspiration of becoming a skilled soldier, which has always been my goal. I aimed to rise above the weaknesses that plagued my family, who fell victim to beasts. My aspiration was to embody strength, to become a formidable soldier, and that is precisely what I achieved in the future. During a recent review of documents pertaining to a particularly aggressive alien species residing in the Rao system. Arthur's note: the Naruto system refers to the Krypton solar system. Just as we have the Milky Way, it has the Rao solar system. The Krypton sun is referred to as Rao. I received an encrypted message from my colleague Jor-El. Upon opening the message, I discovered an invitation to participate in an experiment. The experiment conducted by the Kryptonian Emperor. The experiment was straightforward. The objective was to develop an artificial child possessing the optimal Krypton genes. Should they achieve success, they would utilize that child to orchestrate a coup d'état. The noble houses sought to reclaim their lost political power and desired an emperor with superior lineage to ensure the strength of his descendants. This plan was quite ambitious. After careful consideration, I have decided to participate, but only under one condition. I wish to train the child destined to become the Krypton Emperor. Jor-El readily accepted my condition. Several years elapsed, and the Emperor's initiative was facing significant challenges. A significant number of children lost their lives, yet they remained resolute in their determination to persevere. There appears to be an issue. The child is not exhibiting full genetic support, Jor-El stated with evident frustration. At present, we are in a laboratory featuring a machine known as the Cradle of Life, which serves as the birthplace for all Kryptonians. I originated from this machine, observing silently as the slender infant floated in the green liquid. Jor-El, why don't you utilize that man's genetic material? Alora in Z inquired. That individual possesses unparalleled strength in Krypton. I am uncertain of the implications of incorporating his genetic material into that child. I also do not feel at ease utilizing that individual's genetic material in experiments. I was unfamiliar with the individuals being discussed, but I had a few thoughts in mind. Jor-El referred to Krypton's most formidable entity, with only a single individual in Krypton's history deserving of that distinction. That individual was Rao, the God King of Krypton. Did they possess genetic material stored from that entity? This situation has taken on a fascinating dimension. I am curious about the characteristics of a child that would emerge from that man's genetic contribution. It is acceptable, correct? This individual has already passed away, and his family essentially consists of his descendants. He is your ancestor, and it is likely that he would not be concerned. Understood. Following this discussion, I exited the lab. Several years passed, and I received a message indicating that the experiment had been successful. Codenamed Little Emperor, the child destined to become the Emperor of Krypton has been born. I visited the boy and, upon arriving at the laboratory, observed the small child with blonde hair. Upon observation, I noted the absence of Jor-El. Onda, could you please inform me of Jor-El's location? He abandoned the project, Alora stated. Could you please explain the reasoning behind that? He has reconsidered his involvement and no longer wishes to participate in this project, Alora responded ambiguously. I observe with a discerning gaze. There appears to be an issue, though I cannot identify its nature. Several months elapsed, and the child was now awake and engaging with the educational program specifically designed for him. He was acquiring knowledge at an impressive rate. He was exceptional. Within a few months, he had successfully memorized all the content provided by the program. In light of this, the scientists opted to provide him with private instructors. I was tasked with overseeing his military training. As anticipated, he excelled in that area as well, demonstrating a remarkable ability to learn with ease. As the years progressed, the child demonstrated a level of maturity and understanding akin to that of an adult. He consistently visited to engage in conversation, and we exchanged only a few words, communicating solely as required. The child demonstrated exceptional intelligence, and I endorsed him as a close associate. I approached him with the same regard as I did Jor-El, yet I have reservations about his potential as an emperor. This is an aspect that is acquired through experience. I concur that he is a formidable figure in academic, military, and political contexts, among others. He possesses remarkable intelligence, but does that qualify him as an effective emperor? The uncertainty has consistently lingered in my mind. I am uncertain whether this doubt will be resolved in the future. I believe it is best to wait and observe. Naruto's perspective. 2 months have elapsed since I successfully developed armor that continuously captures the sun's radiation. Over the last couple of months, I've really strengthened my connection with my crew and tackled a few projects that I'm excited to launch when New Krypton comes to life. I used to chat with Kryptonians during my free time, asking them what they thought about the ship and the whole situation with the surviving Kryptonians, and all that stuff. The conversations were pretty surface level and not too deep, and I did that on purpose for a couple of reasons. I want to be a symbol of Krypton, like a god, something that people feel they should be devoted to. I need to be this mysterious presence, yet still feel like I'm right there with all the Kryptonians. I really feel like I need to be someone who leads the way and takes that first step on the journey. I want all Kryptonians to join me and back me up on this journey I'm taking. I really want to be a symbol of greatness and a beacon of hope for a brighter future, but I can't forget that it's my people who have shaped me into who I am today. Well, I can't really be a king if there aren't any subjects around, can I? I always carry these thoughts with me. I really can't let arrogance take over and cloud my judgment. As I gaze at the Amazonian island, I glance over at Feora, who's right next to me. Fora's hair has grown to her shoulders since a few months ago. She really took my words to heart, isn't that adorable? Wow, the last couple of months have been quite the journey for Fora's development. It seems like Feora has really shifted her mindset and has come to grips with her role now. Right now, I'm the king of Krypton. In the future, I plan to be the emperor of different civilizations and races. Feora is my partner, my wife. Everyone on this ship knows this, and honestly, I never intended to keep anything under wraps. With just that info, she got the gist of something pretty simple. She's the second Kryptonian with more authority on this ship, and of course, I'm the first, while Zod comes in third. After 3 months, she finally shifted her mindset from being a warrior to embracing the role of a ruler. She definitely didn't lose her warrior essence entirely. That's just a part of who she is. She meets the basic requirements to be considered a ruler, but there's still a lot of work ahead for her to reach the level of Empress that I envision for her. I shift Fora's focus and take a glance at the Amazonian island, the Mistira. The Mistira is pretty fascinating. The more I learn about this place through the ship's scans, the more I have unanswered questions. I'm not sure if it's really true, but I've heard that the Mistira is considered a holy place. What makes me think that? A little while back, I came across this really intriguing recording. I witnessed a dead Amazon come back to life, and it felt like the whole thing was a time travel experience. It reminded me a lot of Ares. If an Amazon happens to die in the Mistira, they'll be brought back to life in just a few days. I figured out that this only worked with the Amazons, since the soldiers who invaded the Mistira are still gone. I think the Queen of the Amazons has the ability to control this phenomenon that occurs all over the island. The Amazons are immortal as long as they're in the Mistira. I figured that was the obvious conclusion. This skill is super handy. Just think about it, training without the stress of dying, right? You can totally reach any physical limit without a hitch, and that's not all. When you invite your enemy into your home, it's like you've already claimed victory in the war. Sure, I say this with a bit of a light touch, but I get that in a war, there are a bunch of factors to consider. What do you think would happen if I blew up the whole island? Do you think they could come back to life again? There are a bunch of things I'm still figuring out. I picked up so much about the 12 Olympians, and it's all because of my new buddy Ares. Getting useful information from Ares took me a while, but you know what? It was totally worth it. Ares wasn't totally useless, though. After several hours of relentless torture, Feora really leveled up her skills in that department. Ares shared some insights about the main gods of Olympus with me. I already knew a bit about them, but hearing it straight from a god feels way different than just reading about it in a human-written book. Zeus, my dad, well, he's quite the character. His pride could probably reach across galaxies. Ares was chatting away, sipping on a bottle of that Kryptonian drink. Hera, my mom and Zeus's wife, she's definitely got a vengeful side, but honestly, I can't really hold that against her. You know, it's tough because she's always getting let down by my dad. I mean, as the goddess of marriage, his betrayals must really hurt her. Ares chuckled and said, "She's a loyal woman. She never turned her back on Zeus. To be honest, if she weren't married to Zeus, I'd totally make her my wife." I can't help but raise my eyebrows at what Ares just said. It takes me back to the old Kryptonian Empire, where our race really valued blood purity. Incest was a thing for some of those more extreme families, but unlike Ares, it felt more like a practical choice. It was more of a belief than anything emotional. We thought that having incestuous relationships would lead to stronger offspring. It seems to me that Ares' feelings for his mother are really just about sexual desire. Hey, why didn't you go after your mom? Are you not interested in having her as your wife? Are you out of your mind? I'm really not looking to face Zeus's anger. If he finds out that Hera's been unfaithful with his son, I might end up being chased all the way to Tartarus. Sorry, it looks like there's nothing there. Can you share what you want to say? I'm here to help. So, if I'm getting this straight, Zeus was unfaithful to Hera with other women, correct? So, he's got a bunch of kids, but doesn't he think Hera, the one who's always been let down, should do something similar to him? Ares gives a nod and says, see, isn't he just a total hypocrite? He's really just an animal. It seems like if all those stories about Zeus are accurate, he's really just a super powerful kid having fun with humans. He really shouldn't be called God King. Haha, I totally agree with you. I squint at Ares. You know, I can't help but think he's just like his dad. The gods of Olympus have gone missing. They're really just kids with incredible powers. They really don't deserve to carry the title of God at all. I've gone through all the books I could find on Greek mythology, and if everything in them is totally accurate, I might just end up going to war with the Olympians. At the end of the day, they're really just like spoiled kids with some serious powers. And you know how it goes. When a spoiled kid wants something, they just grab it without a second thought. If a god feels that way about my people, then it looks like war is the only way to go. If there's a chance of a war with the Olympians, I really need to get ready. I give Ares a serious look, wishing he didn't have such a tough mental defense. Go on, I say. What's up? Oh, got it. So, Poseidon is my uncle, and let me tell you, he's quite the envious guy. Plus, he has this weird thing for sea animals. Sometimes we grab a drink together since we both can't stand Athena. He said the last part with a hint of disgust. Athena, she's just someone who thinks she's really clever, but honestly, she's not the best. It was so satisfying to watch her go off on Medusa out of jealousy, haha. The tale of Medusa, huh? That tale sums up the personality of the Greek gods well. Demeter, she is my aunt. She's a stunning woman with long blonde hair and a really alluring figure. Less than text. One day, while she was resting, I brought her close, and that's when we had our son together. He spoke with nostalgia. The twin siblings Apollo and Artemis, they like to talk about the lives of the other gods. My opinion about Apollo is neutral, but Artemis is a crazy bitch obsessed with her brother. I can't help but sigh. My thoughts on these gods are pretty low right now. I can't just take Ares' word for it. I need to meet these gods myself and figure things out. But honestly, everything I've heard suggests that these gods are pretty corrupt. Hephaestus, my brother, is quite the character. He might not be the most handsome guy around, but he's incredibly talented. Plus, he's married to Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the goddess who embodies love, beauty, and sexuality. She's really beautiful, with long blonde hair that reminds me of my mom's. She's got a curvy figure and is quite well endowed, plus she's amazing in bed. She had to marry Hephaestus, and as a good brother, I just couldn't stand by and let my sister go through that with someone so unpleasant. He explained it really thoroughly. So, did you end up having sex with Aphrodite because of that? I talked in a straightforward way. Absolutely, she's really attractive, and she's amazing in bed. Even my dad found Aphrodite appealing. He just couldn't have sex with her, thanks to Hera, who was always looking out for Aphrodite. He talked in a really serious tone. I looked towards the ceiling of the room. I think this is what humans call a culture shock. The actions of these gods are only driven by desire. They're the opposite of us Kryptonians. As a future emperor, I must understand all the thought processes of the races and civilizations that I encounter in the future. This is a teaching that is rooted in my mind. Sigh. From what I've gathered about Olympians, they seem to come off as pretty selfish and destructive, don't you think? They can't really destroy themselves since they're immortal. I tilt my head down and glance at Ares with a neutral expression. Go on. Ares takes another sip from the bottle. Hermes is the messenger of the gods, and he can travel anywhere on Olympus. He's pretty handy when you need to send a message to a secret crush. Dionysus is the god of wine and parties. If you want to have a party well done, you have to call Dionysus. This drink is good, but it does not compare with Dionysus. Realizing that he stopped talking, I understand that he won't say anything else. I get up from the chair. See you another day, Ares. I have work to do. I speak while walking towards the exit. Oh, all right. Hey there. Could you ask your torturer to cut it out with the torture? It's really not cool. Recently, she's been picking up some pretty harsh methods of torture. I glance at Aries and offer a little smile. Sure thing, I'll definitely ask her to cut it out. I talked while pointing out the word, ask. Oh, thank you. I nod and leave the torture chamber. Feora, increase the level of torture, find new methods of torture. Try to cut his male organs into pieces. I speak in a neutral tone. I've already taken care of that. I got some kind of response when I was messing with his genitals, but he still hasn't let out a sound of pain. He just shifted his expression a bit. She had a bit of an annoyed look on her face. Maybe we should think about putting liquid uranium on his genitals? Hey, I think this is a pretty good idea. I glance over at Nan, who's awkwardly holding his private parts with a bit of an uncomfortable look on his face. Hey, what's going on, Nan? Oh, it's really nothing, my lord. Hey, if you're not feeling great, I can totally give you a break. Oh, it's nothing, my lord. He said it again, this time with a serious vibe. I just nod and continue talking to Feora. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.